Hello, it's me, your close personal friend, youtube.com/MootroidXProductions. I'm 26 years old, and I have very strong opinions about toys. For little babies. You all remember BIONICLE? Of course you do, you clicked on the video. Everyone's favorite wave was the very first, the Toa Mata from 2001. Even though the Toa Metru from 2004 had a more interesting team dynamic and more grounded personalities. Like, have you read the Metru arc? The writing rocks. Nokama was a better leader than Vakama, and that is a fact. Also, you've noticed I've arranged PNG images of the original Toa on my desk thing here. That's because most of my BIONICLE collection is in storage right now. It's huge, I swear. I could fit like 3 human beings in here. Writing aside, the Toa Mata are, in my opinion, the best looking team. Like, just look at those PNGs. Toy design peaked in 2001. Pack it in, people, you can't get any better than this. Aesthetically, that is. Because these things have one major flaw. Watch this. You like that? I like that. You know who doesn't like that? Lego, apparently. Since 2001, pretty much every mock builder, mock stands for my own creation, by the way, has tried to make their own upgraded Toa Mata. Some do a complete aesthetic overhaul. What is that? What is that? That's so cool. But like I said, this is peak aesthetic, and I don't want to change the way they look, so I decided I would try to preserve the aesthetic as closely as possible. So I took it upon myself to turn these little robot guys into my favorite thing in the world. Highly articulated action figures. Every toy collector loves articulation. If you just keep them sealed in boxes on your shelf forever, you don't count as a toy collector. If you value your collection based on monetary value rather than cool factor, we do not claim you. Free them, you monsters. We collect toys, not investments. Anyway, I also wanted these Toa to be as close to the original size as possible, because if you make your action figure too heavy, it can't like support its own weight in the limbs, and it just freaking falls over every time you try to pose it, and it's a chore to play with, and you have to use these ratchet joints, and you get like a total of 3 poses. I freaking hate ratchet joints. I hate these giant mechs. They look so cool, but they're just way too big. Lego, please. You invented this incredible system of Mixels joints, and you refuse to expand upon it. You could make such a perfect system of buildable action figures, but you're just squandering your potential. Like, at this point, I'm scared for BIONICLE to come back, because you just know they're going to use this new buildable figure format, and they're going to be so heavy they keep freaking falling over, and they're so big that you can't afford the whole team. Look, if Lego does bring back BIONICLE, then here's the way to do it. It should be done in the style of Lemony Lepid's BIONICLE GX2 project. She invented an incredible mini Technic system using Mixels joints in those tiny gearboxes. It's the perfect balance of scale, function, articulation, and aesthetic. This is the absolute ideal system BIONICLE, and Lego will never make something this cool. Tragically, however, she quit working on this project a few years ago. Lemony Lepid, I speak directly to you now. My only hope is that you sell these designs to some kind of third-party manufacturer with access to injection molding. If you do that, you can have every single penny left in my bank account. All of it is yours. I promise. Okay, I am getting off topic here. I have strong opinions about these things. Link to her work is in the description. So anyway, let's get back to the Toa. Each original Toa has a different build, using a limited range of parts for a surprisingly diverse set of characters. The little differences really add up. Kopaka and Lewa have slim shoulders. Onua and Pohatu have gamer posture. Pohatu has those childbearing hips. Onua's legs are inverted, giving him the appearance of having muscular thighs. Lewa has this loose left arm and extra long fingers so he can wield his axe with 2 hands. Pohatu has these pins on his legs like he needs extra pistons for his mighty kicking action. And Gali, the only feminine character, has a socket on her chest for some reason, while 3 of the masculine characters have balls on their chests. So like, are you supposed to like, each one has unique components to emphasize their different personalities. My articulated designs have alterations based on these differences. I will show you the full build of one of them, and then show you how each design differs from that. So let's start with Lewa. He's the most basic. Also, quick question. How do you pronounce this word? Like that first A there, that's the trouble. Do you pronounce that A like the A in cat? Or like the A in bar? There is a correct answer, which I'll tell you in a second. No, like I'm genuinely asking. I want you to write it in the comments right now. I pronounce the first A in like the A in insert cat or bar here. Okay, are you done? Good. You're wrong. It's vibes based, and I'm not joking. Here's an example. So this is the voice actor for Takua in BIONICLE Mask of Light the movie.
Mata Nui will be awakened this day.
And here he is again in the special features.
The island of Mata Nui.
He says it both ways in the same movie. It's vibes based. I personally will say Toa Mata, but then I will say Mata Nui. It depends purely on the context. It's vibes based. Okay, moving on. Alright, starting from the bottom with the legs. Step 1 is a foot, the end. You can add this perpendicular connector underneath, but you don't need to. It's only there so the poster tack you use in animation has something to hold on to. It keeps the feet stuck to the ground so you don't knock everything over all the time. Okay, here are all the parts you'll need to build the lower leg segment. A couple of 0.5L Technic bushings, a 1x2. What's that? What the hell is that? This is a 3L stud axle cut down to 1L. Maybe this video should have included a content warning for gore, because these builds will require some modified parts, and some bootleg stuff as well. None of it is strictly necessary, it's mostly just for aesthetic, but if you want these dudes to look their best, you're gonna have to get violent. Apart from some flex tubes, you'll mostly just need to cut some 3L stud axles. You have a huge surplus of these, so it's not exactly a loss. They're very common. You can get them on Bricklink for literally less than 1 US cent. Okay, I'm gonna count up how many axles you'll need to cut for all 6 Toa, so you can make them ahead of time. I really hope I counted correctly. Okay, right, 1, 2, 3, 4... This one, I lost his elbow. This one is 2L. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12... 2L, that's 2 of those. 13, 14, 15, another 2L, that's 3, and 2 more 2L. So that's 5. Okay, 15 1L stud axles and 5 2L stud axles. But honestly, these things are so useful that you might as well just make a huge surplus for other builds. Wow, look at all these cool bionicles. You love playing with your cool bionicles. What are you looking at? One more quick disclaimer before we begin. This leg design comes from Lalam24. He's the guy who made those famous articulated Toa Mata you're always seeing online. He's a good buddy of mine. Normally, I would prefer to come up with my own designs, but his legs are the best. Link to his work in the description, but he's not really taking commissions anymore, so don't message him asking him to buy stuff. If you're going to use someone else's leg design, make sure you give them credit, otherwise they might call you a racial slur instead of just messaging you directly like a well-adjusted human being. Let's get into the build for real. Step 1 is a foot. Step 2 is a calf. Here are the parts again. Okay, start with a ball joint and a 5L axle with stop. Ball goes all the way down the axle. Okay. Now grab a half bushing. Slide it most of the way down the axle. Stop about 1L above the ball joint. Now grab one of these phallic connectors. That's what you call these. You could call them part 32291 Technic Axle and Pin Connector Perpendicular Double, but that's a heck of a mouthful, and why say all that when you can just make a penis joke? Speaking of mouthfuls. Anyway, slide that phallus all the way down to the bushing and put a second bushing on the other side. Now you're going to make the front of his shin. Start with these 3 parts. Put the 2L axle in the 2L thin lift arm and cap it off with a half bushing. Now grab one of these number 1 connectors. There's some red gunk on it. What even is that? Scrape it off. Put the connector on the protruding axle, then put a stud on either side of the pinhole. Is this a legal technique? Unclear. Decide for yourself. The laws are up to you. This advice applies only to Lego legality and not actual laws. Actual laws are decided by the corporations that bribe elected officials. Put the lift arm on the 5L axle and cap it off with a hand socket. This one is lime green. Cross your fingers. Now grab one of these 2x2 angled plates. You only have 1 set of these. If you had more, you'd use them instead of the 1x2 plate. The angled plate should go on the outside of his leg. This is the only part of his leg that's not symmetrical. It's finally crime time. Grab your 1L crime axle and put it on top of the hand socket. Put a cheese slope on top of the stud. That's half a leg. Good job. Place it aside. Make another one. Okay, here are the parts you'll need for Lewa's thigh. Quite simple. Let's begin. Put a black 2L axle through a hand connector. Rest in peace, LJ. Put a 3L thin lift arm on one side of the axle. Put another lift arm on the other side. It's a ball sandwich. Put a stud on the outside pinhole to fill in some gaps. Not strictly necessary, but it cleans up the silhouette. That's all 3 components finished. Well done. You did so good. I'm so proud of you. Snap it all together. Ball goes in socket, other ball goes in other socket. Please don't break, please don't break, please don't break. It didn't break. Thank heavens. That's a whole entire leg. Make another one. Wow, look at that articulation. Moving on. Time for the Second Amendment, your constitutional right to bear an assault rifle capable of unloading thousands of rounds per minute, just as the founding fathers... arms. I mean, it's time for the arms. You'll notice these 2 arms aren't identical. You'll have to build each one individually. Start with the weapon arm. Here are all the pieces you'll need. There's some mysterious white powder on some of them. What's going on there? Oh, excuse me, officer. I didn't see you there. This stuff is called PFTE powder, or Teflon powder. It's a lubricant that won't screw up your plastic like dish soap might. It makes the joints much smoother, and it's cheaper than cocaine, too. I strongly recommend that you use it in the elbows for these builds. It's gonna get all over your hands, but I'm pretty sure it's non-toxic, and it comes off easy, but don't, snort it or anything. Okay, having done some research, it looks like this stuff is definitely toxic if you ingest it, and they say you should avoid direct skin contact. Links in the description if you want to read it in detail. Use your own judgment. Anyway, let's get started on Lewa's biceps. Black 2L axle in a ball joint, in loving memory of LJ. You're using a ball joint without a through hole because this one has a tighter connection. Okay, now put that axle in a hand socket, but first, lose your grip and drop it. Now try it again. Now grab a ball joint with a hole and a 3L axle with stop, slide the ball joint to the end, grab a half bushing and put it most of the way up the axle. This is just to fill space. Now put a number 1 connector on the end of the axle. This is a bicep. You now have a bicep and a shoulder. Snap them together. Make 2 of each. Good job. Now you'll need the rest of these parts for the weapon arm, including a modified 2L axle with stud. All Vaki are bastards. Oh no, I've been sentenced to 5 business days in prison for Lego crimes. Did you know that you can help pay my legal fees by supporting me on patreon.com/mxpro? My Patreon supporters can also see behind-the-scenes material and raw footage that I upload while in prison. Fortunately, I was able to smuggle in this note card, upon which I've written the names of people currently pledging $5 or more per month. 21Productions, Hayden Powell, Moses! Pasto, Amar Gill, AzgorhLegionary, Damon Dullahan, Derek, Lake Parker, Leah and Josh Caruso, Russ Bird. The more Patreon supporters I have, the more comfortable I will feel working on long-term, large-scale projects like The Last Colony. While in prison. Please, you have to get me out of here. I'm too pretty to feel safe. Now grab a 1x4 plate and a phallic connector. Put the nuts on the middle 2 studs. This is legally dubious. Then grab your bicep and put it on the rightmost stud of the plate. This is the elbow joint. It's a very tight connection, hence the cocaine. Grab a 2L perpendicular connector and put the pinhole on the remaining stud. Now grab your 2L stud axle and a half bushing. You dropped it. Stupid. Pick it up. Put the half bushing on one end of the axle. Put the axle in the shaft of the phallic connector. Put the half bushing on... Damn it. Pick it up, stupid. Put the half bushing on the end of the axle. Put a cheese wedge on the stud. That's an elbow. Make a phallic arm sandwich with another 1x4 plate. Put a stud on either side of the elbow joint to match these little knobs on the set. For the base of his axe, use a black 2L axle and an axle connector. Use a ridged one for the early Technic aesthetic. Then put the axe axle in the axle connector. Then put the axe axle connector axle in the arm's axle connector. That's a right arm. A right to bare arms. Now let's make his left arm. He and Kopaka both use this piece for their left arms. It's a little shorter than the weapon arm, so this design reflects that. Here are the parts you'll need. Wait. Zoom and enhance. What's that? This is a bootleg piece. You can get it from Venado. Lego doesn't make Mixels joints in any other colors because they're cowards. Quality is the same as Lego, so don't worry. Now you can get started on... Wait, what are those? Those are cut flex tubes. This is a legal technique. Lego sometimes requires you to cut flex tubes in official sets. You're gonna need 2 of these, each cut to a length of 2L. Start with a 3L wedge plate. Put the bicep on the leftmost stud. Next you'll need a pair of these 2L perpendicular connectors. Put one on each remaining stud. Now grab a cut 1L stud axle, yes, illegal, and put it on the leftmost connector. Put a cheese wedge on that stud to smooth out the profile of his elbow. Put that bootleg Mixels joint on the other connector. Finish it off by making a forearm sandwich. Wow, that's a lot of cocaine. Excuse me. Forearms finished. Time to get handsy. Here are the parts you'll need. Start with this Mixels socket plate. Put this roof wedge thing on top of it. You can really use whatever part you want here as long as it's got a 2x2 profile. Now add this 1x2 plate with a bar on the side. Finish off the handwich with this round 2x2 smooth circle plate thing. Now it's time to get fingered. Lewa's original set has long creepy fingers, so the new one is designed to reflect that. Start with one of these bar holders with a clip on the end. Put a 2L flex tube in the hole. Then put a 1L stud pin on the flex tube. That's a finger. Make 2 of them. Now the hand job is finished. Good lord. Put the hand on his wrist, and that's a left arm. Congratulations, you've done it. Okay, ladies, gentlemen, and cis people, get ready. It's pelvis time. Here are all the pelvis parts you'll need. Start with a Hordika neck. This will be the core. Now grab a C-shaped connector. Now drop the C-shaped connector. Now pick up the C-shaped connector. You aren't wearing pants, because it's hot up here, but you are wearing one astronaut sock and one rainbow frog fairy sock. Now readjust the camera. Okay, C connector, Hordika neck. Put the C connector on the upper axle hole facing in the opposite direction of the ball joint. Secure them using a black 2L axle. May LJ look favorably upon you from the afterlife. Now grab part 92907 Technic axle and pin connector perpendicular split. That's too many syllables, so from now on you'll call it... okay. So here in my script it says, joke, need joke, IDK what it looks like. But I couldn't think of anything funny to compare it to, so I'm just gonna call it a joke connector.
Can't remember the name, huh? A senior moment, perhaps.
Put the joke connector on the bottom of the Hordika neck, facing the same direction as the ball joint with the, the little dongle thing pointing down. Secure it with a 2L axle. Now, ponder the pelvis. Hesitate. You did something wrong. This isn't right at all. Continue to ponder the pelvis. Ponder Tahu's pelvis for reference. Okay, got it. The C connector should be secured with a 3L axle instead of a 2L axle. Always use black. It looks much better. LJ was right. Rest his soul. I still remember when I heard the news of his passing. It was a devastating blow to the BIONICLE community, and it was a reminder that all of us are real people with our own lives and relationships and dreams. I feel silly for making little jokes about him in my first tutorial video. But I guess in some way, a small piece of him will live on forever in that video. He had an impact on so many lives. He was a kind soul with a big heart, and he went out of his way to share it with all of us. LJ, if you're watching this from Bionicle Heaven, I hope I'll see you there someday. Now put a 3L thin lift arm on one side. Grab a 3L axle with stop and a ball joint. Slide the ball joint up to the end, then drop it. You're so clumsy and silly. You're a silly, clumsy little guy. Pick it up. Place the ball joint. Put the axle in the 3L lift arm. Only push it until you have about 1L protruding from the inside. Grab a 2L axle connector and connect the axle connector to the axle. Grab another 3L lift arm and put it on the other side of the pelvic sandwich. Take a second to ponder the pelvis again and make sure you've done it correctly. Yeah, looks fine. Okay, grab another 3L axle with stop and another ball joint. Connect those dudes, but don't drop them this time. Put them in the axle connector on the other side. Now it's time to make Lewa's ass! Start with a 2L perpendicular connector. Connect it to a throwbot foot. You love this piece, and you wish LEGO would bring it back. Put a 1.5L pin in the lower hole of the throwbot foot. Now grab Lewa's pelvis and put that foot up his ass. Finally, secure it with a 2L axle.
Makes ass!
Okay, now it's time for... Well, it goes on the front of his pelvis. You don't know what to call it other than a penis. It's a penis. It's Lewa's penis. Hold your giggles. We're all adults here. We're mature enough to build a robot penis without laughing about it, right?
I want to talk to you about my penis.
So let's begin the phalloplasty. Put 2 half pins with studs on the C connector. Now take 2 of these little headlight bricks. Use a 1x2 hopper plate to give them a little hat. Put a cheese wedge on the hopper. Now grab part 47458 slope curved 1x2 by 2/3 wing end, but you like to call it a Master Chief piece because it looks kind of like the brim of Master Chief's Halo hat. Put Halo Man on the headlights. That's a penis. Put the penis on the pelvis, and the pelvis is finished. Congratulations! You did a good job on the bottom surgery. Now it's time for the upper torso. This is by far the most complicated part of the build, so you're gonna do this chunk by chunk. Start with the back. Here are the parts you'll need for baby to get back. Start with a 3L pin axle. Put a big Toa gear on it, then follow it up with a bushing. That's his gear. Place it aside. Now grab 2905 Technic lift arm modified triangle thin 3x5 with full supports.
That's a mouthful.
You can just call it a triangle lift arm. Anyway, grab a triangle lift arm. Struggle and fail to put a 2L axle in one of the axle holes. You miss LJ so much. Life will never be the same without him. You don't know how to go on. Try again and succeed this time. Good job. Okay, now add another triangle lift arm. Now put the gear in the upper middle pinhole. Baby got back. It's finished. Gently place it aside. Alright, time to narrate in first person again. It's time for the core, the coup de grace, or the coupe de grace, if you will. This is the key component of my Toa build, and it's not even mine. I significantly modified the design for my own purposes, but it's still based on the idea of another mock builder. I messaged him and asked how he'd like to be credited, but he said he doesn't care if I don't credit him, so I will not credit the inner torso of the Training Days Lewa designed by Joe Northrop as the single most important feature of this entire build. Okay, getting back in character now. Here are the required parts for the core. Surprisingly few for such a critical— What are those? How many more times are you going to do this joke? Probably until the police budget runs out, which you don't think will be for a long time. They're getting paid to play on their phones and we still don't have healthcare. Anyway, back to second person. Start with a metru thigh. Put a 2L axle on either side. Sorry, LJ. We miss you. Now put a Technic cam on the axles. Technic cams are incredibly useful pieces, so it's unfortunate that they're relatively expensive, especially if you have the audacity to buy more than 1 or 2 from a single seller. Good lord. Now put a half bushing on the protruding axles. You can get them in black from bootleg sellers, but go ahead and use gray ones if you're a purist. Now grab a 5L axle. These only come in gray nowadays, and also yellow for some reason, but you're picky, so you use black. Put it through the middle axle holes of the cams. Place a hand socket on either side of the axle, and that's the Northrop core. Well done. Congratulations. Oh wait, good heavens, would you just look at the time? It's titty time! And here are all the parts you'll need to make Lewa's tits. You should probably have them all laid out like this because you'll never remember how to build this thing otherwise. Wait, zoom in, enhance. What is that? That, my friends, is a formerly Mega Constructs, formerly Mega Blocks piece. LEGO doesn't make these because, again, LEGO are cowards. These are zero clearance brackets that I find far, far more useful than standard LEGO brackets, because LEGO brackets have this extra plate on the side. So when you put a LEGO bracket on a brick with a sideways stud, it just doesn't work. There's some extra space there. They're out of alignment. Oh, you thought you were clever? You thought that you could just put a plate on a sideways stud brick? Too bad, idiot! The bracket has a thinner profile than a plate, because we hate you! think I just spit on my mic. But then, along comes my best friend, Mega, with a new system of zero clearance brackets. Now you can add vertical studs to any build while keeping them perfectly flush with the base surface. Even if you don't like Mega, which, like, why wouldn't you like Mega? Mega is amazing. Look at those figures. It's worth picking up a couple of sets just for these zero clearance brackets. They're a huge boon to any builder who cares about tiny details. Zero clearance brackets are like a brother to me. They saved my life. They cured cancer. They will be best man at my wedding. Mainly because my first choice for best man came out as a woman a few years ago. Okay, why are you here? What are you doing here? What do you want? Oh yeah, lots of cops are transphobic. Okay, moving on. Each Toa has a different chest design. It's completely possible to do this legally, don't worry. I'm only using the mega pieces based on my own aesthetic preferences. I'll show you other legal methods later. Go to this timecode to see that. So, back to Lewa's HRT. You're going to start with a 1x2 brick with studs on both sides. This is the core of the chest build. Ideally, you could use a different color, but you didn't have one in green, so you're just using gray. Grab a 1x3 plate and put it on the bottom of the brick. Stack two 1x1 plates on top of the protruding stud. Put a cheese wedge on those 1x1s. You wish you had another one in regular green instead of this weird shade. Now stack two 1x2 plates on top of the core brick. Now grab a ball joint without a through hole. It's important that you use this version, both for the smooth back and the stud connector on the front. Put it on the lower stud. Now you need to put the whole thing down and try to remember the next step. Like, there aren't that many parts here, but there's so many ways they can fit together. Ponder it for a little while. What an incredible building system. Okay, you remember now. Put a headlight brick on the side of the core brick using the anti-stud on the back. Well, okay, no. That's not... Okay, put the bottom on the no, you had it right the first time. Okay, add another one. Zero hesitation this time. With error comes clarity. Put two more on the other side. Okay, now it's crime time again. And not just any crimes. Mega crime, dang it. Mega crimes. Put the zero clearance bracket on the upper headlights, facing up. Now put cheese wedges on the upward facing studs. Angle them a little if you want. It's very important that you use a slightly different shade of green. It's supposed to look bad. It's on purpose, you swear. Now grab one of these 1x2 slope tiles and put a stud on the lower half. If it's nice, do it twice. Put both studded slopes on the lower headlights. Now put one of these 1x2 pyramid doodads on either side of the ball joint. It would have made sense to put the ball joint on last, but literally who cares? You know, you could probably put a cheese slope up here to smooth out the profile, then mount the ball joint on a pair of 1x1 plates. It's up to you. Okay, now all you need is a pair of these little lollipop bar studs. Lollipop bar stud sounds like a new genre of gay man. Twinks, twunks, otters, bears, power bottoms, and lollipop bar studs. This is how the tits connect to the Northrop core. Put one on either side. Now these lollipop sticks will fit into the axle holes on the hand sockets used for the shoulders. Here's another function of the cams. They keep the chest from rotating on the lollipops. Now simply put his back on his back, and his upper torso is complete. Oh yeah, he also needs a neck. The neck is easy, just these three bits. The axle is stored in the balls, and the balls is stored in the neck. Then stick the axle into the Toa Mata head. There's two axle holes here, and you can use either one. It doesn't matter. Nothing does. Put the neck and the head on the torso. Now you can put the mask on the wait. You know what? No. The official instructions always tell you to put the mask on so early, but that feels wrong, you know? You always save the mask for last. It's the defining feature of the character. It goes on last, thus bringing the character to life. And it's more lore accurate that way, too. Isn't it rad that even the building process is part of the lore? BIONICLE is so cool, man. There's never been anything else like it. Okay, now you can put everything together. The tits bone is connected to the penis bone. The penis bone is connected to the leg bone. The cheese wedge bone fell off the knee bone. The other leg bone goes on the penis bone. The arm bone is connected to the tits bone, etc., etc. And finally, the mask bone goes on the face bone heads of Voodoo Island. It's important that you use a Kanohi Miru with teeth marks on it. You don't know where they came from. It's not important. Put it on its face. You know, we should really still be wearing masks when we go out. Like, there's still a plague going around. It never went away. People just stopped talking about it. The Republicans don't want to talk about it because the solution requires prioritizing personal health over wage slavery. The Democrats don't want to talk about it because that walking corpse completely fumbled the bag when it was his turn in the hot seat. The only people who still wear masks are Bionicles. And also weird pinko lefties who hold the radical belief that we shouldn't sacrifice immunocompromised people and the elderly to the economy. Keep politics out of Bionicle. Literally shut up. Jattler led the working class in a general strike to demand employer transparency during a climate crisis. Your anti-intellectualism is tedious and politically illiterate. A quick note on the hips. You can slide the ball joints right up against the pelvis for a slimmer silhouette. If you need him to do the splits, just slide the joint out to the stop. Or you can choose the wildcard option and modify the axle. Cut off about 0.5L, and it'll give your build a better silhouette while still maintaining enough clearance for maximum hip range. If you need help measuring, put 2 bushings and 1/2 bushing on a 3L axle. This is definitely the best looking option. Yes, it does require parts modification, but you're in too deep at this point to care, aren't you? Hang on, what's that thing in the background? Note to self, use an actual Ghidorah sound effect if that's bad. Okay, Lewa's finished. Congregations. Now let's talk about some alternate build options. As established earlier, each original Toa has a slightly different design, so these builds reflect that. And this design is extremely customizable, so you don't have to follow the exact instructions. Feel free to make your own modifications to suit your preference. Let's start with the red one. How you doing? Am I right, ladies?
No, Tahu, no!
Okay, real quick, some people were asking why Tahu had green eyes in my Tahu vs. Lewa stop-motion video. That's because I prefer the sleeker profile of the Bionicle Star's How. It only fits on a Metru head and there was never a pink Metru brainstock, so I just used lime green because I love how it looks on camera. Okay, so first, Tahu's penis has this 1x2 grill instead of a Halo Man hat. Pretty simple. But let's move down to the legs. Ooh, what's going on down there? This is an alternate aesthetic build. It's down to preference, again. Here are the pieces you'll need, but you'll have to double this recipe because Tahu has 2 legs. Anyway, you'll notice that his calves use a C connector and a regular bushing instead of a phallic connector and 2 half bushings. Either one works. It's up to you and the colors you have on hand. So the first step is to put 2 half pins with studs in the C connector. Next, you'll need to cut some more flex tubes. These are about 2.5L. Again, the simplest way to measure that is 2 bushings and 1 half bushing on a 3L axle. Anyway, put the flex tubes into the pins. Next, take a pair of 1x2 round plates and put them on either side, connecting them using the holes in the studs. Then take a pair of 1x2 smooth slopes and connect them to the lower studs, and you're finished. Also, for Tahu's thighs, instead of studs, you can use a 1x2 hopper tile. Again, down to preference. Okay, hand. Tahu's hand.
Your right hand comes off?
There's a double cheese wedge on the back and a Halo Man hat on the front. You'll also notice this Mixel's socket is black. That's because it's a bootleg. Black looks better than gray here, but this socket isn't perfect. There isn't enough clearance to get the cheese wedge to fully sit on the plate. You could probably sand it down, but you don't feel like it. Moving on, the original Tahu set has shorter fingers than Lewa. He just uses 3L axles, so there's no need to make any additions to the bar holders. Oh, look at that, another bootleg joint on his wrist. Now let's take a gander at the Toa Tahu titties. You'll notice these vented wedges are connected using more mega brackets. Yes, hello officer, I see you there. Very intimidating. Okay, I'm getting sick of this joke, hang on. Tahu's chest has the same core brick as Lewa's, but the differences begin with some mega brackets on the upper side studs. Grab a little half-arch brick and a 1x1 upwards bracket, connect them like so, grab a cheese wedge and put it on top of the bracket, now put a lollipop on the arch, then put that whole thing on the side of the core assembly. It is nice. Do it twice. This technique works as long as the lollipops are separated from the core brick by a length of 3 plates or 1 brick. Now put another little pyramid wedge on the front using the mega bracket. The other one is missing. It went off screen somewhere. Go find it. There it is. Okay. The bottom part of his chest uses 2 double-sided mega brackets with a 1x1 plate between them. Put a cheese wedge on top, put the whole thing beneath the chest, and put a vented wedge on either— Pick it up, you fool. A vented wedge on either side. Behold, breasts. Now implant that silicone into the robot. This guy's got a lot of cocaine on his chest. Okay, slap it on there and you're done with the red one. Okay, who's next? Yes, the Caucasian. The first step is to realize that one of his forearms is missing a Technic bushing. That won't do. You're a perfectionist. Better sneak out of the attic and steal one from the stash your girlfriend keeps downstairs. Doesn't look like anyone's around. You think the coast is clear. Better hurry. Ooh, a slug. Perfect. Okay. You gotta be quick. She could come back at any second. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Alright, you made it. You're safe. Okay, there's a couple differences with Kopaka's hand. First, his hand is topped with these round 2x2 plates because his shield can connect to those axle holes. And second, he's got a 1x2 plate with clips to hold his fingers. His hand should have a slimmer profile because he's a dainty kind of fellow. Here's Tahu's hand for scale. Hey, Kopaka, let's compare hand sizes. Why? No reason, just let's touch each other's hands. Let's just do it, no reason. His shield is different too. Use the original piece, but add this radar dish. It looks like it's 4x4, but the important part is that it has an axle connector in the anti-stud. So now you just gotta put the radar dish on top of the shield and slap a 2L axle in there. It won't sit quite flush on the studs on his hand, but the axle keeps it in place. His left forearm is slightly different as well. It's got a C connector with a bushing inside, held in place by the Mixel's joint and a modified 1L stud axle. Hello, officer. No, wait, I'm not doing that anymore. Then his weapon arm is basically the same as Lewa's, except it has gray 4L wedge plates. You used regular 1x4 plates for Lewa because you didn't have these wedges in lime green. You can use a C connector here too. The bushing is held in place by a modified 2L axle. You'll notice his elbow is cheeseless. That's because you lost it. His biceps are shorter than Lewa's as well. You'll want to use a 2L axle instead of 3L. Kopaka has little arms because he strikes me as the type to rely more on his powers and equipment than his actual physical strength. He's a huge nerd, not a tree hugger like Lewa or an athlete like Pohatu. And he's probably got a huge inferiority complex about the fact that his shoulders aren't wide like Tahu's. He and Tahu want each other so badly. Thinking about Kopaka made him clench his fist tighter on the handle of his fire sword. What's that, Toa of Slush? Asked Tahu. You tell your tales to keep your courage warm, Tahu, the Toa of Ice replied. What better use for a hot air? I would swear I just heard Kopaka, the Toa of doing his own thing, suggest that we unite. Kopaka's chest is built differently from the others. This is another method you can use, and it's a little easier to do it legally. It relies on one of these Technic bricks with a pair of lift arms coming off the back. You want to put it around the middle of the metru thigh and secure it with a 5L lift arm. The rest of the torso is built as normal, except for this notched half bushing, which is cracked. While you attach it, you try not to think about how every Lego piece ultimately has an expiration date, just like yourself, and you fail. Okay. Now it's time to do what Tahu always wanted to, and take an intimate look at Kopaka's tits. Start by stacking 2 1x2 plates and put a stud on the bottom. You'll have to use a stud with a hole or a hopper plate without this little peg on the bottom. Now look closely at the upper 1x2 plate. There's a crack on it. There's a crack on the other side. The end is nigh. Put that thing on the bottom of the Technic brick. Now grab a 2x4 downward bracket. There's some red gunk on this one too. Scrape it off. Put the bracket on top of the Technic brick. Oh look, more mega brackets. You love mega brackets. Put it on the lower stud of the 2x4 bracket, then add a cheese wedge. Do the same on the other side. Now add a 1x2 hopper tile. Now put a ball on that hopper tile. Actually, wait. Don't do that. Grab a 1x2 half arch brick. Check to see if that's correct. Connect 2 arches with the grill tile. No, don't do that either. Okay, just yank the whole thing off his chest and stare at it for a sec. Close the camera app and look at the footage you've already shot because you forgot how his chest works. Hang on, sorry. Just a sec. Okay, you remember now. Put the hopper on top of the mega brackets. You can have his chest back now. Now grab those half arches and put them on the 2x4 bracket. Then connect them with a grill tile. Then the ball goes on. Now grab 2 more hopper tiles and put them on the upper studs of his chest. And finally, put some cheese on those robot titties. I don't know why I say things like that. My mom watches this channel. Okay, who's next? You.
Brother!
So, Pohatu is an interesting one. Where all the other Toa had an arm-swinging function, Pohatu was built with an upside-down torso, thus enabling him to hit the gritty. Actually, you should probably research exactly what the gritty is before you include that joke. It wouldn't be the first time you incorrectly assumed you understood part of black culture and got in trouble for it. Okay, yeah, that's fine. First, let's start with his hands. The original set has regular old axle fingers, but you should give him big, beefy sausage fingers. You don't eat pork sausage because that's not kosher. So use these 1x2 plates with a clip, and then put an ingot tile on top of each to make his fingers look thicker. Looks like you used 2x2 plates for his palms? You have no idea why you did that. Is he, Also, give him bigger shoulders using a hand socket attached with a 2L axle. Pohatu has balls on his shoulders for some reason. He also wears Timbs. This is standard, you don't need a tutorial. I trust you to figure it out. Put these little 5L gears on his knees, too, for some extra bulk. To build his thighs, instead of 2L axles, use these 3L pin axles. Wait, what is that? What is that? Yeah, so it looks like brown dye weakens the plastic just like lime... Hang on. It looks like brown dye weakens the plastic just like lime green. So he broke his elbow cheese. That's really upsetting. Anyway, put a hopper tile on the inside of his thighs. It wouldn't fit between these pins sticking out here. And you're using these pin axles because... You're using these pin axles because the original Pohatu had pins sticking out of his legs. Presumably they were meant to look like exhaust pipes or pistons or something because his legs were so thick and mighty. Okay, that's it for his legs, so let's look at this potato's torso. Are you getting tired? Is your patience wearing thin yet? I know mine is. I've been recording this voiceover for an hour and a half now. At the time I wrote this part of the script, I'd been trimming the footage for 6 hours. Just look at how many files I had to import. This is just the raw footage. Nice. Right, without the limbs, we can see his lovely hourglass figure. In my opinion, male characters with feminine secondary sex characteristics are peak character design. The core of his upper torso is similar to the core of the other Toa's pelvises. There are some small differences. There's a half pin there for some reason, but you have no idea why. Now for his shoulders. Make 2 of these things, but mirror them. A hand socket, a 2L axle, a 2L perpendicular connector, and a stud. Put 1 on either side of this axle. Now his neck. You can use a black bootleg Mixel socket, it's fine. 2 1x2 plates on the bottom. Then you've got 2 cheese wedges and a 1x2 plate on a Mixel segment. Also a little Mixel's toe ball thing here. The studs on the bootleg Mixel's plate will fit into the pinholes on the C connector here. It's a very tight connection, so don't worry about stability. Now for his chest. Grab two 1x1 bricks with studs on the side. Put them together on a pair of stacked 1x2 plates. Or you could use a single 1x2 brick with studs on the side, that would probably be better. But you ran out. So the studs on top of that assembly will go inside the pinholes on the other side of the C connector. Actually, wait, not yet. Grab something rounded with a 2x2 profile. This engine-looking sloped thing has a cool shape and texture. You have no idea what it's called or where it's from, but that goes on the side studs. Not that way, the other way. Yeah, like that. Okay. Now that goes on his chest. One more try. It goes on his chest. It doesn't fall off this time. The studs on the other side of that brick keep the neck from going all the way down, but they add some texture. Right, now you gotta disassemble his abdomen. His lower torso is pretty similar to everyone else's upper torso. Put this Technic brick in the middle, but secure it with a 3L axle. Then put a pair of 3L axles on the upper connectors, and then make a cam winch. Put hand connectors on those axles facing downwards. Now grab a 4L axle with stop, and add a ball joint and a bushing. Put it in the lowest hole of the cam. Maybe slide those bits in if you want. His ass is everyone else's back. One of these triangle lift arms is different for some reason. 99773 Technic lift arm modified triangle thin 3x5 with...
That's a mouthful.
Doesn't matter. You can also put a 1x3 plate on the inside, then add a stud and a cheese wedge for shape. Then put another 1x3 plate right here. Now you can put his ass on his ass. Now grab a 5L axle and two bushings. This is Pohatu's wiener. Put his wiener in his wiener hole. Then secure it from the rear with a big gear and another bushing. Now it's time to build his belly. It's all going to be mounted on this Technic brick. Start with a 1x2 plate, put two 1x4 plates on top of it, then put two little cylinders on either side. Now take note of the fact that the plates are two different colors for some reason. Most likely the dye fades with age, just like happy memories and trauma. Slide that thing under his Technic tummy. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Grab a 2x2 bracket. No gunk on this one, yet. Put a grill tile on the bottom. Put a hopper tile on the top. Balls is stored on the hopper tile. The original set doesn't have a belly ball, but he deserves one. Put another hopper on top of the bracket, then add a cheese wedge. This one is also cracked. It doesn't have much time left. Now grab a 1x4 plate, add a pair of studs and a pair of 1x2 slopes. Put that whole thing underneath the bracket. Now put that whole thing on top of his belly. The little slopes aren't very secure, but that's fine. You animated this guy doing the moonwalk and they never fell off. Potato is finished. Congratulations. Okay. Gali is next. Sexual dimorphism doesn't exist in Bionicle. Except for when it does. So she looks basically the same as everyone except Onua and Potato. I really appreciate that they didn't give her humongous Domon hunk ruse or a Pixar mom hip-to-waist ratio. Instead, that honor went to Pohatu. Looking at them side by side is kind of like, you know. One tiny difference. She has these little half pins on her butt to make her pelvis more cohesive. They only come in blue and gray, though. If they came in other colors, they'd look really good on the other Toa. But no, thanks a lot, Lego. She also has these Robo-Rider feet for knees, plus a stud on the pinhole for some extra color. That's a pretty nice solution that doesn't require any modified parts. Okay, let's talk about her breasts. It's time to look at Gali's breasts. Throw away Gali for now. We don't need her, only her rack. This is not a healthy attitude to have towards women in real life. Another difference between Gali and real-life women is that her chest is completely legal. If you rip away all the extra stuff, you'll notice that the core of her chest is the same as Lewa's. A 1x2 brick with a 1x3 plate and a pair of 1x1s on the end, plus some cheese. The sides of her chest are made of a stud, a 1x1 bracket, a half arch, a lollipop, and a piece of cheese. Just mirror one of those on either side. The front of her chest is very simple. Start with a 2x3 plate and put a vented wedge on either side, then grab one of these 1x2 plates with a wedge on the end, and put some cheese on the stud. Stick that between the vents, and stick that on the core brick. Then align your lollipops and perform breast augmentation. This is easier said than done, apparently. I'm not a licensed surgeon. Okay, there we go. Wait, there we don't go. There we leave. Okay. You almost got it. Align it, make sure it's level. Now press, squeeze, firmly grasp it. And there you go. Gosh darn it, there you leave. Okay, one more try. Reattach your lollipops, align them with your chest orifices, and now... There it is! From the moment I made my first attempt to the moment I succeeded in reattaching her chest, that took me, 1 minute and 20 seconds. I'm what you call a professional. Now let's look at her penis. So she's got these 1x1 bricks. You know what, it happens to the best of us. So her penis is made up of a pair of 1x1 bricks with a stud on the side, plus a 1x2 hopper tile, and of course, a piece of cheese. Next, put another hopper tile on those side studs, then add a 1x2 slope, and of course, it's attached via a pair of half pins. Did you know that when a trans woman gets bottom surgery, she doesn't actually get her schmeat cut off? It's more a process of, disassembly and reassembly. It's not a Bionicle, it's a transformer. Okay, she's finished. Right, one left. Onua! You're so tired, but you're almost there. You can do it. Big yawn. So Onua has two weapon arms. They're built very similarly to the other weapon arms with a couple of small differences. First, put a C connector in the middle, then add a 1L pin connector, then put a bushing in the C connector and secure it using a 3L pin axle. No need to cut this one. Yep, yeah, officer, I see you there. Too bad I'm not committing any crimes, right? Aw, does someone need to meet a quota? Does someone need to ruin a random person's life so you can make your workday end on a little extra paperwork so you can get that overtime pay? You guys remember when Tahu killed that cop? Then turned around and gave the Kranua a gentle shove. It fell over and smashed into thousands of tiny fragments of crystal. Surrender and run aren't the only choices anymore, he said, walking away. Now add the bicep and close up the arm sandwich. Put a cheese wedge on the stud, add a pair of studs to the elbow. Then grab one of these sockets with a perpendicular axle connector, the kind used on the old Titan sets. Then put his claws into some ball joints and snap them into his sockets. He has wrists now. Onua's thighs use a Technic cam on the inside and a hopper tile on the outside. His set has inverted leg pieces to make his thighs look bigger. He's a solid man, you know, so he should have solid-looking thighs. Right, now it's time for his upper torso. You aren't certain you remember how to build this thing. Well, his back is the same as all the others, that's easy enough. But otherwise, this is going to be a bit of a puzzle box. Well, here are some of the pieces used to build his upper torso, I guess. You've chosen not to fully disassemble it because, like, how are you going to put it back together, you know? This hand socket, it probably goes somewhere. Okay, you've disassembled it a little bit more. Maybe now it'll make more sense to you. Okay, a little more. So these 3L pins with the axle connectors, they go in the C connector, right? And you put pin axles in the axle connectors, and put a phallic connector on those pins. Then put another phallic connector on the pins on the other side. That other phallic connector has a 4L axle in it with 2L thin lift arms on either side. And this hand connector, this probably goes somewhere, right? How's that gonna... Okay, take one of those 3x3L thin corner lift arms with a curved support. It's got 2L axles in it, plus a half bushing with gear teeth. And as you can see, it does not go there. Maybe like this. Wait, that doesn't make any sense, does it? That's not right. I'm stupid! Wait, maybe... Oh, now you see. Okay. So hold a hand socket inside the C connector like this. Then grab the corner lift arm, which you'll notice already has some axles and another hand socket in it, and right, okay. See, that axle holds that hand socket in place, and the other axle holds the other hand socket in place. Okay. So far, so good. So far, so good. Okay, real quick, here's how to build Onua's neck. Take a pin connector with an axle on it, put a pin axle in the pinhole, use a black one, rest in peace LJ, we miss you, and put a ball joint on the axle. That's his neck, and it goes into this socket right here. Okay, but now you've got these 3L lift arms lying around, and where did they go? Did they go here, like that? That's not right, is it? Okay, maybe put it on the other side instead of the corner lift arm, just to see. Does that look right to you? No, not really. So first it's the corner lift arm, then the 3L lift arm goes on the outside of that, see? Yeah, like that. Also, the original Onua set did not have a chest ball, but you feel like he deserves one, so stick it on that hand socket on the base of his neck. So the gear-toothed half bushings go on the protruding axles like that. This one isn't broken, that's fantastic. And hold your rahi, was there another axle here? Where's that supposed to go? Wait. His shoulders, of course, yes. You forgot Onua has shoulders. Where did they go? How do you... Oh, okay, yeah, now you get it. Okay, that's what the C connector was for, gotcha. Okay, so the C connector holds the axles in place, and the axles hold the shoulder sockets. So now put his back on his back, and that keeps his shoulders completely secure. Okay, so that's Onua's upper torso. You figured it out. It was a process of mechanical problem solving, and hey, that's exactly what you love about BIONICLE, right? So as you can see, that pin system gives his neck excellent range. The only issue is that when he looks down, the axle kind of slides out of the ball a little bit, but that's no issue, really. You're a stop-motion animator, right? You break puppets pretty regularly to cheat poses that aren't technically allowed by the limits of their articulation. Like in this shot where you broke Spartan Stone in half to give her an ab crunch, or in this shot where you ripped off Spartan Shift's leg to give her a higher kick. Oh, also you can put on the Kanohi Pikari if you want, I guess. Okay, he's done. You want to put him back together now? You should probably put him back together. So, there you have it. Lewa, Kopaka, Onua, Gali, Pohatu, and the red one. They're all finished, and you can play with them all you want. You love playing with them. It's so much fun to play with your toys. You know, it's weird that parts keep breaking on you. It probably doesn't have anything to do with your rough handling. Let's take a closer look. Why in heaven's name does your hair look like that?
Dude, why are you telling people I'm dead?